new book is really like looking at, okay, here are the warning signs of going down, going on this decline. And then how do you bring yourself back up? And I didn't do it all on my own. I had two wonderful coaches. One was a business coach and one was a wellness coach. And the wellness coach, she came in the first time I saw her speak. She's like, I can't do self-care. Self-care is a foreign concept for me. And I was like, oh, I'm right there with you. Like, it doesn't come naturally. And I worked with her for the last year and a half to help myself get better. And so then I started to incorporate those discoveries into the book.
Wow. So tell us a little bit more about this book.
Yeah, so it's called Perfectioneur, which is a term I coined.
Whoa, that hit me in the gut. Holy crap.
Yeah, Perfectioneur. I knew this is why you need to talk. Because
oh my goodness, my reaction is on camera. That was...
So I had that epiphany at 4 a.m. one day. Like, I just woke up and was like, what's another way I self-identify? Perfectionist, entrepreneur. Perfectionist, entrepreneur. So Perfectioneur became the word for that. I pitched it to a bunch of women business owners in a moment of vulnerability and said, here's how I relate. Here's what it looks like. Does this resonate? And they absolutely related to it. And so I started writing about it, saying, hey, if you identify with workaholic, Enneagram type 3, perfectionist, control freak, this is you. And I think it's a different subset of entrepreneurs that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are some of the symptoms that would make us go, whoa, I felt it, but I don't know what it looks like behaviorally.
Yeah. I had posted back when I was just introducing it on social media to people saying, this is what I think it is. I kind of said it was a recipe. It's a recipe of having a high drive with a dash of imposter syndrome, which I know you talk about, with, a sprinkling of self-doubt and this really poor work-life balance where we just go, go, go. And so I think a lot of people who find themselves hustling, like that's this term of like hustle really hard to get results, which a lot of us were taught to do in our 20s and 30s.
That's right.
It's hitting hard now of like, okay, we don't have any self-care. We don't know what rest feels like. Maybe if you're like me, you feel anxious when you see a blank spot on your calendar, or all of a sudden have a day of nothing and you get really restless within 4 hours being like, I need to do something.
Yeah. So that idea of you have to be filling in the time that is blank or the white spaces instead of taking that moment for something. So let's say someone sees a lot of blank spaces in their calendar. How would one utilize that to ensure that they don't burn themselves out? I mean, how would they interpret those because what I'm hearing from you is that someone sees blank spaces and they see that as, I'm not being productive, I'm not making money, what am I doing?
No, I'm not worthy. If I'm not creating, I'm not worthy. So I think this is why we're seeing a rise in planners coming back, like old school. Literally, I carry this one with me at all times, like this nice big one that you just put everything in. And I know that they quote that as like a millennial thing, which I'm an old millennial, so I get it. But, there's pros and cons to that identity. And so I actually had to literally schedule downtime. Like I had to cross it out. I had to make sure it wasn't blank, but actually like busy in some form. And that really allowed me permission to go take a walk or do something creative or, listen to music or whatever it ended up being. But if it was blank, I almost thought it was available for clients or for some sort of project or consultation. I wasn't taking time for myself.
That's very interesting. So many of us who, for me, I look at blank spaces and I swim in it. Unfortunately, I'm not a very structured individual and I do have a lot of blank spaces. And for me, the time frame, if I don't write things out on what I need to do in those areas, it's not going to happen. Right.
Gotcha.
But at the same time, for someone like me, I need to be productive, but I also need to really chill out. Right. So on my calendar, the funny thing is I don't write anything else unless there's clients or there's a phone call, there's something like this. What you will see over and over again in my calendar is between 12 to 2 o'clock is my nap time.
I figured that was there somewhere. Yes.
It's and when I don't get in, some of my supervisees know that if I don't text them back or call them, they know between 12 to 2 are my nap times.
Right. Do not disturb.
Do not disturb. But they do, right? That is, wherever I go, unless I'm traveling somewhere, nap time is something for me that I absolutely require and I
Right.
need. Now, there's times when I schedule, if my clients say, hey, can we see you? I know that even some of my clients know. It's hilarious.
Yep. That you've been transparent enough to be like, this is like coveted time. And that really shows where we can be good role models. I mean, we're our own worst client. That's something I've heard for years of like,
Very
we can
true.
teach people this stuff beautifully, but can we do it for ourselves? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
You and I are early risers. So I think a lot of people assume that we don't get sleep, or at least for me, I can speak to people saying, oh my gosh, you're doing all these things. Like, you must not get enough sleep. And I'm like, no, I get my 9 hours every night because I wake up at 6 a.m. every day, even on weekends. And that's my structure. Like you, maybe I don't have something planned, or maybe it's a to-do list item, but I am up every day the same time. And that's for my sanity too, because I don't know about you, but when I oversleep, I'm a zombie. So I just need that structure.
Yeah, if I oversleep, and I never oversleep. Like, I
Yeah.
remember when I was in college, my roommate um was like, "Why don't you have an alarm clock?" I'm like, "If I think I'm going to wake up at a certain time, I'm going to wake up." And sure enough, I'm up at exactly the same time. Like for me now, it's between 4:30 and 6 o'clock. I'm already up doing something. I just need that routine. But what are some of the symptoms? What are some of the things that happen when an entrepreneur does not take care of themselves,
The kind of
around
the
the
consequences of that.
consequences? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, what I think the vulnerability in the book is talking about how it impacted my relationships as one outlet that it really showed up in. Um, I write about just chugging along, thinking I'm doing great with my plans, I'm making progress, and I remember distinctly both my family and my spouse being like, no, like almost intervention style without the drama, like
Right.
family saying, I never see you. You don't come home at holidays. You're always working. You're always checking your phone. My spouse is super easygoing. If you're a fan of the Enneagram, he's a 6. So he's got the anxiety component, but he's very loyal. And he at one point just said, hey, when you start to change your schedule, like, will I get to see you more than an hour a day? And it wasn't a manipulation, it wasn't an accusation, it was just matter of fact, and it hit me so hard because I was like, oh my gosh, like how long have you been worried about this, because you don't speak your truth. So for him to even voice it meant it had been going on for months and months where he was unhappy, and that really spurred me to call this coach up and be like, I don't want to lose my marriage, like help me.
Wow. Wow.
Relationships are most likely the thing to suffer because we're still producing, right? We're creating these meaningful things, but we're not connecting with people
My
one on one.
goodness. You know
That's
that
the big
that
one.
that reminds me of the movie Steve Jobs. Was it Steve
I haven't
Jobs?
even seen it.
Yeah. I mean, basically the movie is about him so dedicated to his work, but his family life suffered, his relationship. And you're absolutely right. I think that is a consequence of not taking yourself as an entrepreneur, because that one piece of being so creative, you're so focused on that, and then you've got this.
Right.
You know, I that's an indicator that if your family's falling apart, you better shift as much as possible, because you may be too obsessed or too focused on your line of
Right.
work.
They don't see you, they don't spend time with you. I mean, to have it quantified as my husband was seeing me 7 hours a week. I was like, wait, we live together, like it blew my mind. Like I was oblivious to it. Like talk about self-discovery in its most painful form.
Yeah, yeah. Tell us the title of your book again.
It's called Perfectioneur: From Workaholic to Well Balanced, One Therapist Guide to Get You There.
That
So
is amazing. And so when at the time of this recording, it's probably going to be out, but when will that be out?
oh gosh, well, the editor just got back to me today and is starting to work on it. So I'm
Okay,
hoping by sometime in June.
perfect.
I'm also working on a workbook version because it is kind of that self help, self discovery category to really help people adopt the ideas. I think to talk about self care from a commercialized standpoint and then really make it concrete for people in a way that entrepreneurs can appreciate
Yeah.
was a whole different flavor. And so I think the workbook's going to help that drive it home.
I love that. So for those of you who are watching, I will have the link, hopefully, to
Hopefully. Yeah.
hopefully,
Amazon.
yes, to the book, and I highly recommend you pick it up. I can't wait to get my own copy. And as an entrepreneur slash marketer, there's a lot of things that you have to be aware of. Not only the creative piece, but just to make sure that you are all not on the road of burnout. Because, you know, as an entrepreneur, it's exciting, right? It's like fun and exciting to do all these other things, but you have to know when to put the brakes. You know, a
Yes.
lot of people tell me the same thing, Cara, that Ernesto, you're doing so many things. You're here, there. What state are you in? I get that a lot from friends and family. Are you in the state? I'm like, yes, I am. But what people don't know is that I'm fully rested in the evening. I go to sleep. Even people accuse me of saying you never sleep. I'm like, oh, hold on. And I take naps,
Right.
you know? And now that I got into TikTok, now I'm dancing.
Right. You got your physical movement. We all need that. I take walks every day now for that same reason. It just
Mm,
feels good. It feels good in our body.
yeah. So
Dancing sounds more fun.
right, is it not? And the more you give your brain a rest, the more creative and innovative you can become, because you really got to take care of this. And I get thoughts of ideas, all flights of ideas. I have flights of ideas all the time, but
Mm-hmm.
now I've been able to sit back and go, which one can I commit to, and which one is going to bring me more revenue? That's my thinking now.
There you go.
You know?
Strategy. Yeah. And something very similar to that is in the book as well, of how to go from a huge to do list and this big picture, because we're really good at that, and bring it to a lean to do list so you actually feel like you're making more progress on those goals. And I
Yeah.
remember when I first did it, I was like, I only get to focus on 10 things for 6 months. What? No.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
But it was so
know.
much more fruitful. It was like this because I had focus. I wasn't going out and doing 20 million things.
Yeah, absolutely. Kara, thank you so much for being here. And like I said, for those of you who are watching, I will definitely have the link to the book. Buy it. Please, please buy it. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to have my own copy. I may even have a book review on it, and I'll just post it here in our membership site. So,
Awesome.
Kara, thank you so much.
Thank you. This was so much fun. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right. Bye bye.